underpricing because you don't want to leave money on the table either. So some pricing principles we got, you guys. Be competitive. Once again, look at the competitors, look at what they're pricing, find out why they're pricing it at that level, and is this a price that would be feasible for you to do and not come up short on your profit? Because obviously, I can't price my burgers the same as McDonald's. McDonald's buys their supplies in major bulk, whereas I might be buying mine in smaller amounts. It could be bulk, but compared to them, it's nowhere close to them. So I'm not going to be able to price my food the same as them. And if I do price it the same as them, am I making enough profit to where I'm comfortable? Or is me trying to meet their price going to give me such a small profit that it's too much of a risk to take the chance with? All right, so look at the competitors, be competitive with your pricing. Price for your customer value. Basically, what are they paying for? Are they paying for the quality? Are they paying for the convenience? Is it fast? Like I said, McDonald's, like, it's consistent every time. I know what it's going to taste like. I know that I can get it within 5 minutes. I know that it's going to they're going to get it to me fast. I know that the price is good. I know all of this is good. It's very convenient because they're everywhere. So anywhere I go, any city I go to, it's easy to find a McDonald's. As soon as you get off the highway, there's probably going to be one there, right? So what is the value that you have for your customers? Is it a luxury item? One thing to think about, early adapters are happy to pay more. And what I mean by that is, anybody ever bought a pair of, I've never bought a pair, I never will, but anybody ever bought a pair of Jordans? You guys ever bought a pair of Jordans before? I know you guys know about the where people pretty much will spend crazy amounts to get their pair of Jordans before everyone else, right?
They're collectible. I never had any Jordans, but
yeah, I've never had them. But I've seen people pay over $300 for a pair of Jordans because they wanted to get it before everyone else got them, right? And so if your product is one of those products where you have an audience that just really wants that product, oftentimes you can start out with, you know, for those that want this exclusive edition of this kind of shoe, or exclusive edition of, or to be the first ones to say that you have this, one of the first ones that come off the line. Like, for instance, in the video game world, I realize sometimes for those that buy the product at a certain date before everyone else, anyone that buys it early, they get these little extras added to their added to the game itself. Like, maybe they get a different set of skins that everyone else won't be able to get. There's sometimes where you buy the game, or you invest into the upgrade of the game, where you'll get a specific type of weapon or whatever it is that's special, but nobody else can get that. Like the game I play now, Division 2, when I play that game, there's a couple guns that you can't get unless you bought like this special package that goes with it. If you didn't buy the special package, you're never ever going to be able to get that particular kind of weapon. So people who are early adapters, a lot of times they'll pay that extra money just so they can have it before everyone else. But also be cautious with that because you need to make sure you have an audience that's willing to do that. If you come out with a price too high and you don't have those early adapters within your buying base, then people are going to look at you crazy and they're going to buy it somewhere else, right? So, and when you're pricing also, is it trendy? Is this something that's popular right now? If it's popular right now, you can charge a little more. If it's not popular right now, or if it's just on a regular status, then you need to charge what the normal price is going to be. But if it's something that's trendy, you know the saying, supply and demand. If the demand is extremely high for your type of product, then you might be able to raise the price a little bit because so many more people are trying to get that particular kind of product. All right, so let your price reflect your differentiation between your products and other people's products. So if, for instance, you do decide to put a little bit higher price tag on your product, then you need to be able to explain to your buyers or to your audience why you put that price tag on there. What makes your product worth you charging more than what everyone else is charging for the exact same kind of product. So you want to be able to express that and show what the differentiation is. Know your industry niche and competition prices, right? So is your product a luxury product? Is it a mid-range? Is it an upper range, lower mid-range? Is this a dollar store, thrift store kind of product, right? You don't want to put a luxury price on a thrifty product, but you also don't want to put a thrifty price on a luxury product because you're going to wind up losing a lot of money and leaving a lot of money on the table. And people are going to question whether or not your product is actually a luxury product if you put a thrifty price on it. So make sure you understand why your price is what it is. What is your competition price for the exact same kind of quality and product, and how do they add up together? All right, whatever you do, don't play the discount game, the cheapest card game. If you're going to give a discount, make it a small discount. Trust me, I think I told you guys a story about how we decided to test it with one of our events by taking our $10 price and making it $5. And in the end, we got the same amount of people through the door. So we wind up leaving a lot of money on the table. Because we cut the price in half when we could have just cut it to $8, and that might have just been a little bit, just as much as enticing as that $5 drop would have been. But either way it goes, it was a test. We found out we might as well keep it at 10, and we kept it at 10. All right, so never leave money on the table, long story short. That's what I'm saying. So don't cut yourself so short because you think it's going to draw people in. Oftentimes, that cutting it in half doesn't even bring in more customers unless it's something that's an extremely high demand. And even then, if it's in extremely high demand, you don't want to cut the price because you have a high demand for it. So I often question when the price is cut way too low, the reasoning behind that. Usually that tells me they're not selling enough of that product, and that's why they cut that price the way that they did. All right, so think about your market segments. Like, for instance, the luxury marketplace. In 2019, it was valued at over $318 billion. There's a lot of places with very good luxury markets. For instance, China has a great luxury market. Miami, New York, Dubai, which I've never been, but I have friends that live there, and I'm so jealous of them. But I can't afford to live in Dubai, so that's not a conversation we're gonna have. But either way it goes, these are places that have big budgets, and they're not the only places. There's plenty of places around the world that is willing to spend money on your products, guys. And that's one thing you gotta keep in your mind. You're no longer just locked into where you live. Years ago, back in the day, before the internet day, when we put out music, we literally were based on how big our budget was how far we can go. Like, for instance, yes, we can do all the shows and advertise and market in our cities, but back then you didn't have the internet, so it wasn't easy for us to find more and more fans outside of the city unless we had the budget to go outside the city and market in those other cities, where we would go and literally have street teams go from all the different areas that were relevant to our music and market and advertise in those areas. Taking a lot of risks doing that because you're spending a lot of money with the hopes that in a short amount of time you can draw more interest. Whereas now the world is different. Like, literally, when we first started Conscious Mind Records in 2010, we were getting radio play in the UK long before people were paying attention to us here, which was weird. But I loved it because we actually had an audience. Whereas if we had waited for our audience here stateside, it might have been very discouraging and might have made us lose our motivation because it took a little while for the home base to actually start enjoying what we were doing. So we were getting played over in the UK long before we were getting it here, which means any products you're putting together, anything that you're creating, you can sell in these other countries. So once again, though, if you are going to sell in someone else's country, make sure you understand their culture. Do not just show up with your products and start putting your advertisements out, because trust me, some countries that you do that to, you can offend them very easy and therefore completely wasting your operation and them shutting you down in those places. I've seen where some of our more popular restaurants have been banned from some countries strictly because of the kind of foods they sell or some of the beliefs that particular company likes to put out there to the public. So make sure that you understand the areas, their cultures that you're going to sell in, but do not confine yourself just to the U.S. The U.S. is not the only place. I have listeners in Africa. I have listeners in Spain. I have listeners all over the world that pay attention to our music. Like I said, in the UK, when we put out the dancehall album back in 2000 and was it 14 or 16? 14, 15. One of those years. When we put out the dancehall album, 2016, when we put out the dancehall album, it was pretty cool because our dancehall album was getting played and sold in Japan a couple of days before it started getting played and sold here in the U.S. Because of the distribution company and because of the album also, because the album had a very popular dancehall Japanese artist, believe it or not, that was on the album, which I didn't know that in Japan, they even liked reggae or dancehall, but come to find out they have a huge fan base over there for those type of music. So either way it goes, there are markets elsewhere that are available to us. If you have luxury products, some of these places will be places that you would probably want to do some kind of marketing to if you are able to ship your product to these areas. All right, so don't just think you're stuck. With that being said, if you're going to have a luxury product, make sure you have, if you're going to put a luxury price, make sure you have a luxury product. Don't try to sell something that isn't on that level for that price, because eventually the buyers and the fans or whoever they are, they're going to realize that they're not getting their money's worth, and it's going to be a problem. Now, with that being said, oftentimes, if your brand is strong, your products can be decent and still warrant more value. I paid for shoes that I could have bought a cheaper brand of shoe that was just as good, looked just as good, but didn't have the brand on it. I could have bought the same kind of shoe for a different shoe cheaper, but that was the exact same quality and everything as the other shoe. I've seen this over and over again. Your brand can really make your product value go up dramatically. But once again, you have to build your brand value, and you definitely want to make sure that you're putting your prices in the right direction. So with that being said, you guys, are there any questions about anything that we went over today? Or underpricing, because you don't want to leave money on the table either. So some